Welcome to Real Talk for Women of Faith, brought to you by Inner City Women of Faith. We are your hosts. I'm Marzette McGarry Hawkins, and
Nicole Rivas.
Thank you, ladies, for joining us again today. And our topic for today is Black love. We're still on our Black love series. And today we are focusing on, is he the one or is he the, well, I didn't say it right, ladies. Is he the one or is he the one to run from? So is your guy the one or is he the one that you should run from? We're going to talk about that today because a lot of times we are in relationships and we're wondering, is this the guy that I should be kind of working with, work things out with, or am I just being foolish? Should I just leave him alone and let him go his way and I go my way? Well, we have nobody better to talk about this than our guest, DWania Hall. Now, hi, DWania. Nicole, you want to introduce DWania for us?
Okay, so DWania, I'm gonna let DWania introduce herself a little bit, but I just want to tell you, I've known DWania 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah, at least 20
ourselves, aren't we? We were dating ourselves a little bit there. And DWania is an amazing, powerful, awesome woman of God. She is a preacher, she is a poetess, and now she's a writer, y'all. Woo, 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 woo. You see her little book over there in the corner? Worth the read. Go out and get it. It's powerful. Women inspiring. Let me make sure I get nations. Women Inspiring Nations. Powerful title, and it's available on Amazon. I already have my copy, so you all catch up with me and get your copy. And I'm going to let DWania kind of come forward and tell the audience a little about yourself and why you are the one who knows about who to run from and who to work it out with. Go ahead.
Girl. Oh, that's so funny. You said she's a preacher, and it's funny when people say this to me, because I always forget that part. I do. I always forget that. Well,
Nicole forgets that part too. She forgets she's a preacher. Go ahead.
I forget that part. But I am an empowerment speaker. And of course, as she said, a poet, best-selling author. I'm a mom. That's a big job of mine. I'm a self-care advocate. I live by the motto, be good to yourself. And so I wear a lot of hats, but one of my underlying purposes in everything is inspiring women to begin again after trauma, any kind of trauma, and maximize their lives through self-care. Now, this is something that I've had to personally learn how to do. As Nicole said, yes, I'm somebody that can contribute to this topic because I done seen a whole lot of things. I've been here a minute, good 40 something years on this earth. And I've seen Mr. Right, Mr. Wrong, ooh, girl, just I've lived with, obviously I'm a mom, so I know that whole journey of when you're having a child with someone and all the challenges that come into there. I've been through the trying to co-parent, and that is not easy. Just so many struggles. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. So yeah, I've seen a lot of things from my own life and also through, talking my friends off their ledges or through their challenges in relationships. So yeah, I can share a few things on this topic, just a few.
All right, so I'm glad you broke the ice. So now I could go in, I could reveal some stuff because you broke the ice. So when we were like, who can we invite to talk about this topic? You flashed in my mind because I know, like you just said, you've dated, you've lived with, you've married, and then I know at this juncture in life, you lost your husband.
Yeah.
So you're experiencing being a widow.
Yeah.
And so you have experienced the gamut. Of the stages of relationship, and you've had your shares of Mr. Wrong and your share of Mr. Right, and so I couldn't think of anyone better who could speak to women wherever they are, and help them really home in on this. So I'm going to ask you, from all your cornucopia of experience, tell us, what are we looking for to try to distinguish between he just needs a little help, I just need to love a little harder, I just need to talk a little more, and nah, girl, you need to peace, deuces, I'm out. Yeah, what? Give us some hints, some insights.
Oh, I have several things to say on that topic. For the ooh girl, just no. That for me would always be abuse. That is not something we're going to work around.
Mhm.
That's just not acceptable. And I know we'll talk more about that later, but that would be the no, absolutely abuse in any form. And I will get into more descriptions of that later, but that's an absolute no for people out there. As far as does he need a little more work? We say does he need a little more work? You got to look at, is he willing to do the work, or is he, well, if I just do a little more? No, stop it right now, because then he's not doing the work. So backtrack on that. When you're thinking, well, maybe this is someone who has potential, that's okay, because we've all been at a potential stage in our lives, but is he willing to actually do the work, to move, to do something for himself?
Can I
So
come in there, Dwayne, right quick
yeah,
before you go on?
yeah,
Because it's so funny that you said that, because I was rolling around in my head this topic too, of what would be my list. And do you know what was on my list? Self-awareness.
yeah,
A man who is not aware of his stuff, therefore he can't even work on it if he wanted to because he's not aware of it.
yeah,
There's no amount of work you can do.
right,
And that's the same
right.
point that you're making, which is
Mhm.
it's not your work to do.
No,
He's
no.
It's a partnership in this.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, because we do this all the time, because we are nurturers by nature. And sometimes I would feel not guilty, but I guess bad for being so nurturing. I'm extremely nurturing, but there's nothing wrong with that. So I no longer, even get hung up on trying to change that or be less nurturing. No, you got to set boundaries on your nurturing and know when to stop. So when it comes to your man, you are not there to do the work for him. It is fine to nurture him. Let me tell you how you can nurture him. Nurture him through prayer. Say encouraging things to him, pump him up when he's actually doing something, but do not nurture in the way of your doing the work for him. Because as I even say with my children, if I do the work for you, you're not learning.
Mhm.
If I do the work for you, you're not actually growing. So it's the same thing with a man. So that's important. When I was thinking about, okay, what does Mr. Right or the one look like? I was thinking, obviously, this is just my own personal thing. I was like, ooh, someone who is 6'4", 278 pounds, built like he chops wood, and with a Morris chestnut smile. That's initially what came into my mind for myself. But seriously, I would say, if you're asking that question, how do I know if this person is the one? You need to determine whether that person is the one. You first need to be aware of who you are and what you need.
Mhm.
And that could be a whole nother show, because so I can't get deep into that topic, but you need to know you yourself first, and not leave that definition to whatever man you're dating. And next, I would say to journal after every date. In your journal, write down what you did, where you went, and how did that man make you feel about yourself? A lot of times, especially when loneliness is tailgating us, and we've all experienced that at some point or another during this pandemic, that loneliness, we will rush through dating and don't really take the time to get to know who we are when we are in the presence of the other person. And that is so important. Knowing that will help you determine whether that person deserves access to you on a permanent basis. And then lastly,
Mhm.
I would
Wait,
urge you to pray
when you
about it.
don't move past that yet. Don't
Oh
move
wait,
past that.
the date journal,
The date journal, because
yes,
I've never heard that before.
date journal,
And
I
I,
like that.
I don't want to rush,
yeah,
because what just struck me as you were speaking, that famous saying by Maya Angelou, that people won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
yes, it's so
Well, so true, except as you were saying that, you know what struck me? Somehow that's not true for women in dating. somehow when it comes to dating, we develop amnesia. We forget that this guy made us feel this last week. And
Yeah.
somehow we're out with him again and we're feeling it again.
Yeah.
And we're shocked that we're feeling insecure. We're shocked that we're feeling less than. But the journal that you just recommended helps us overcome that amnesia.
Yeah.
So we
You
can
can-
see
yeah.
I've had 10 dates with this guy, and 9 out of the 10, I was feeling bad about myself.
Yes, that's a problem. That's how you gonna know he's not the one.
Mhm.
He's not the one. And that's the thing. It's a reference. You need a reference for everything. You know, so that is your reference. Like you said, before you go out on a date with this person for the 4th time, go back and look and assess the information that's there from the first 3 days and be like, oh, you know what? I really like the way I feel about me. Notice I said about me. I didn't say nothing about how you made him feel, what he said. Get off of him, get into you. Dating is really about learning you. So many times as women, we get so caught up in trying to be the perfect date that we don't even assess how we are feeling or how we're being taken care of. And so that's what a date journal helps with, for us to stop and take care of us. How did this person make me feel about me? So you're going to notice if there's something specific he said that just like really boosted your spirit, or if there's something specific he said or did that made you feel disrespected in any kind of way. All of those things, you cannot slide past that. But if you're not in this date journal, which is your assessment of the dates, you will easily, as Nicole says, you will get that amnesia, you will forget, and all that will matter to you is that you want to go out or you want some male companionship. And you'll forget everything that happened before until it happens again. And like Nicole said, you're gonna act like you're shot. Like, oh my God, how did he do this again? Girl, look at your journal.
Been doing that.
Look
He's
at
been
your
doing
journal.
that. Right.
Look
And you
at
know
the
what?
journal. Yes. And
Mhm.
that's a good way to know this is not the person. You can write down so many things in the journal. Was he thoughtful? Did he plan the date? Was he considerate? Did he talk over me, or did he actually listen intently while I spoke and actually proved by giving information back that he was actually listening and interested in what I was saying? Did he ask me any questions that matter, or did he just keep referencing my booty and my legs all night? Like you these are things that you gotta stop grinning at and actually assess. And so I highly recommend that people have a date journal.
A date journal. I like that. And because what happens is women, you look up 5 years later and you're frustrated and you're still dealing with this guy. And he has, and it's like, it's not his fault, it's your fault. Because, and I hate to say the word fault, but it's like he's shown you from the beginning, but that date journal, us referencing that helps us. I think that could be very helpful because it's like, well, you know what? This is nothing new. He's been doing this. And that helps me. Maybe that'll help us be able to move forward with more confidence, move away with more confidence, because because sometimes I think that as women we think, well, maybe I'm being too hard, maybe I'm misassessing the situation, maybe we're, like you said, we are often such nurturers, and I think that Black women especially are really taught to kind of, we cover men when men should be covering us. Is that what I say? Cover?
Yeah.
It should
go both ways.
It should go both ways.
Yeah.
But I think that we don't really expect our men to cover us. We are often the coverers. You know what I mean? I say, like, it's this sense of I need to help him, and he's not okay. I see his problems. He's trying. I know he hit me a little bit. I know he kind of cussed me out a little bit. I know he kind of, but he's trying. We're always like this. I gotta cover it. And so with that date journal, if we're writing down how we feel and what happened, maybe that'll help us see, wait, this is a lot. Like, it's on paper. It looks like, I can, it becomes very tangible at that point. Then we look at, this is a lot. I'm really doing a whole lot here that I shouldn't be doing. I'm really feeling a whole lot here that I should not have been feeling, or that I should, you know what I mean? So I really like that idea of a date journal.
Yeah.
If you're not dating, I would say a relationship journal then,
A
right?
relationship
A
journey, yeah,
relationship.
whatever your status is. And like you said, Marzette, when you were saying like this is a lot. Now you imagine if you are overwhelmed and stressed out just from reading notes from this date, you already know how this relationship gonna go. If you want to go deeper into that, you just stop right there. The pages have already overwhelmed me. I'm good. No, thank
Exactly.
you.
No, thank, and you know what,
Exactly. So
DeWania?
as we're closing, our time is up. You have another question, the three things. Did we talk about the three things
No, we haven't
specifically?
gotten to the third one yet.
No, the
Third one,
last
right?
thing, last thing I was gonna say, and I learned this late, but thank God I learned it is pray when you're
Mm,
dating. I'm talking about every part of it. People sometimes think that certain things are not to be prayed for. I believe in praying for every little thing. Pray for what you're gonna wear on the date, even so you set the right tone and the right impression for what needs to happen in your life. Pray for wisdom and discernment while on the date. Pray for your hearing while you're on the date. Pray for physical willpower. Oh God, because they might be looking really good and you don't want to just jump into that physical. So pray for that physical willpower and pray for and about the person that you are going on this date with. I believe that real very just that's very, very important. A lot of people do not pray and they just jump out and start dating and jump into other things. So that's very important. That's my third thing in that segment.
I think those are excellent. And that last point, apparently, a lot, and this will be a separate show, but a lot of church girls have an issue with feeling comfortable with sexuality and love and so forth. So if they're attracted to a man or want to be in a man's presence, they almost don't want to pray about it because they feel a guilt about it. You know what I mean? So then they take God out of it. And you're so right. That's something they have to pray about. But there's one issue that you raised when we were talking, which was isolation. And I just want you to tap that one because I think we're going to pick that up in the next show. But I think that's a good
Yeah.
transition
So
for our
I'll give you, yeah, quickly, there were things for you to look for. And I'll go deep into the isolation. I'll just mention the other two. For nonverbal communication, there's a lot I could say about that, but nonverbal communication is something to look out for when you're out dating or in a relationship because people do speak with their bodies. So pay attention to what they're doing. And then this connects to the prayer part, moving too fast. Studies show that many abused women knew or dated their abuser for less than 6 months before moving in with them or jumping into marriage. You know, sometimes guys come in like a tornado, like, "Ooh, girl, you the one," or all this kind of stuff. I'm gonna say just out there, be wary of that. With somebody who wants to move too fast, you better make them get on that Jacob plan. He worked for Laban for over 7 years to get the woman that he wanted. So make them wait, make them get to know you. And then that isolation is such a huge thing because it's something that can show up as simple as this person that one person wants the other person to stay at home with them all the time. Don't go nowhere. Don't hang out with nobody, not even at the grocery store, not even at the car wash. Don't be talking to nobody at church. All these different kind of things that sometimes we take lightly or we take it as, oh, they just love me that much. No, these are signs of isolation and it's often rooted in insecurity or low self-esteem. If someone was cheated on before, they may have low self-esteem. Or isolation also can show up when a person is cheating and they need to keep you in a controlled environment so they don't get caught. Or the worst case scenario, isolation can be the gateway to abuse. So, and I believe we're going to jump into that deeper on a different show. But yeah, isolation is very, very important to be able to identify.
Mhm.
That's good. So the three things that you said that we need to run. When we know we need to run, you said is abuse. You mentioned that first, abuse. The other one you said is what was the second one?
Not doing the work. If he's not
Oh,
willing to
yeah,
Yeah,
do
he's not
if,
doing the work
if he's
himself.
not
Yeah.
doing the work, he doesn't have self-awareness, he doesn't realize his own issues, so he's not willing to do the work to change, to be better. And then the third one you said is isolation.
no,
Yeah.
third is pray. Pray.
Third is what?
pray.
Oh, the third thing. No. She
Well,
was saying
there's
no.
things there's things to look out for,
Yeah,
and then
things to
there's
look out
things
for,
to
to
do
do.
when
Right.
you're dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So things to look out for. She said was any kind of abuse, Mr. Wrong. He doesn't have self-awareness. And then the third one was again was
He's not doing the work
he's not doing the work. He's not
himself.
doing the work for
Can,
himself.
can we
And then
summarize it this way to make it helpful? I think for people, I think
mhm,
Dwayne was right by separating them in categories, right?
mhm,
So one category is what you need to do to ensure that you're with the right one as opposed to the one you need to get away from.
Yeah.
And the things that you need to do, you need to keep your date journal so you can recognize patterns and not get swept up in amnesia.
Yeah.
And you need to pray about everything concerning that date, what you
Mhm.
wear, where you go, whether you continue, whether you stop. Those are the things within your hand
that
and
date or relationship
in
or
the
relationship.
relationship. Then the other category of things that Dwayne is saying, things you need to be looking out of and keen about. One, is he willing to do the work, right? If he's not
Yeah.
willing to do the work, you don't do the work for him. And
Absolutely.
then two, she started talking about other characteristics that should be very concerning, which are abuse of any kind. And she's going to get
Yeah.
into that more. Isolation, which could
Yes.
be a sign that he's doing dirt or that he's potentially dangerous.
Yes.
So those are the big warning
Yeah.
signs that she's putting out there for
Yeah.
you to start paying attention that there's a problem. So what I can do, pray journal, what I need to, my signals to pop up if I see them is isolation and doesn't want to do the work and any form of abuse, verbal or anything else. Apologies, no, out.
Yeah.
I got that right, Dwayne?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in that, just moving too fast.
Oh,
Moving
yes.
too fast.
Moving
Make
too
them
fast.
work. Make them get on that Jacob plan. Make them work for it.
Make it work.
Amen. Make it work.
All right,
Listen,
thank
people
you.
be lazy. Like, they don't want to work like not even 7 days. They be like, "Oh, I promise you." I had a guy who was like, "Girl, you be tripping. We could have been married by now." I'm like, "What? Wait a minute. You don't even know how to communicate with me. What you talking about, marriage? Jacob plan, sir. He worked 7 years and then some. Stop playing. Do the work. Get into it.
Do
Get
the
to know
work.
me. Communicate. Let me get to know you. Don't let somebody move you too fast. And only you know what that is. You know how you feel. That goes back to that journal. When you're journaling, you can also see if somebody is moving you too fast.
Yeah, that's good. So that's good. Well, ladies, we got some tips from Duania on if your guy is Mr. Right or Mr. Wrong. We hope some of these tips help you. Don't forget to get Duania's book on Amazon. Her book is Women Inspiring Nations. Wow, that sounds so powerful. So go ahead and get her book. Now, next week, join us. We're going to be talking about abuse. So if you've experienced any abuse or you know anyone who has, then go ahead and tune in next week for our continued Black Love series. We'll be talking about abuse specifically. So go ahead and tune in. And remember this, ladies, in Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5, the Lord encourages us to acknowledge him in all of our ways, and he will direct our paths. So as you're dating, as you're in a relationship and you're wondering which way to go, we just want to urge you and encourage you to ask God, ask for God's guidance, and he promises to guide you. Now, the question is, will you obey? Will you be bold enough, faithful enough, trusting enough to obey what God puts in your heart, the impression that he puts in you for the right decision you should make? Will you trust him to walk away if he tells you to walk away? Will you trust him to let the person go, let the man go? Will you trust him? That's the question. God loves you. God has a good plan for your life. Thank you, Duania, for joining us today, and thank all of you. And we will see you next time on Real Talk for Women of Faith, brought to you by Inner City Women of Faith. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Inner City Women of Faith. Thank you.